we go. Somebody asked me in the in-between here, and it's your turn. Is there a time when you should just start all over? Is there a time where you should just start all over? And the answer is yes. Okay. But not if you do one segment at a time. If you heed my warning and build one segment and then test it, and build one segment and then test it, and build one segment and then test it, you shouldn't run yourself into that situation. When I have had it happen is when a kid builds all 7 without testing anything, and then they turn it on and like 5 segments are broken. And it's like spaghetti. I'll be like, all right, I'll sit down with you. It's going to take us a long time to troubleshoot the circuit. You might decide that maybe it's better to clean slate. You've now spent 2, maybe 3 hours wiring this thing. In theory, you got better at breadboarding in those 2 or 3 hours of practice. You got some ideas about how you want to organize this thing. It might be better to just start from scratch. I used to really like never tell kids to do it. I'd be like, no, we can save it. But the reality is if you're that much in the weeds and you have five wrong segments and we have this massive circuit to troubleshoot, it actually would probably be better to just clean slate, wipe it clean, start, build segment A, test segment A, build segment B, test segment B. That may be better. I did have, I was telling you guys, this is such a big deal, this date of birth circuit, that I like to, take a picture of it, Hall of Fame it, whatever. And sometimes I would have the kids like turn in the picture as they're like, I got it done evidence. And if kids, couldn't upload a video or whatever, I used to just like, if I would walk over, I'd say, show me, and they would flip their switches and I'd say, you got it, perfect. And then I would take a picture of them like, yeah, I got it. And I'll be like, there's your proof. Mike Crash says you got it. You're good. So I had a kid, his name was Nihal, nice kid. And he took, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, he took 3 months to finish his date of birth circuit. Most of that was his fault, right? He missed a bunch of school, and he kept wiring the whole thing. And, there was a lot of issues going on. But the fact of the matter is I wouldn't let it go. I'm like, no, you're going to get, I just wanted F. I'm like, no F. You're going to get it working. And we got it working. And he was so, he was so happy. He got it working. So I pull my iPad out. I'm going to take the picture. I'm like, oh, there you got it. Yeah, dude. And I'm jumping up and down and cheering. I'm grabbing my iPad to take the picture. And in his glee, he grabs all of his wires and just rips them out. And I was like, but I didn't take the picture. And his face just like, I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. I saw it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But he was about to have a heart attack because he thought he'd have to do it all over again. So I will forever remember that story. All right. Cool. This block, though, is not about the date of birth, although that was good troubleshooting talk. This block is about our next project, which is the now serving display, the deli counter. Okay. So we're going to make this deli counter, this now serving display. And this is a tough one. This is a reach. Okay. I'm going to scaffold you through it a lot. But it is a tough thing to do. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about it first. Maybe we'll do a design brief first so that we can write stuff under it. Okay. So let me grab my iPad. We'll do a design brief first. I'm kind of clip through the design brief pretty quickly here, because you guys are old hat experts on these design briefs now. You guys will get to it before I will. So the title is going to be Now Serving Display. Now Serving Display. I'm not sharing yet, just so you don't panic and be like, I can't see. I'm not sharing yet. So the title is Now Serving Display. The client for this one, I love to pick like a local grocery store, right? And then we always have big arguments about what's the best local grocery store. You go to Piggly Wiggly? No way. Kroger's the best, or whatever local grocery stores you have. Mariano's,
Wegmans.
Wegmans. There you go. Jewel is the big one in our area. Jewel is like the juggernaut grocery store here, which is a Kroger offshoot or whatever.
There's no way in hell anyone ever picks Jewel.
They don't like Jewel, that's for sure. Yeah, the kid last year did Fresh Time Market. I was like, okay, all right, guy, fancy. So that's the client. You are the designer, obviously. So we're going to put you as the designer in there. Okay. Yoink. New. You don't need to see my timesheet for my summer curriculum project. Okay. So our title we had. Now serving. By the way, one more nice thing about Notability, you can see as I go quick, my handwriting gets terrible. Notability does have a text tool. So for those of us like me who have terrible handwriting, the text tool is a nice way to jump in there. So now serving, we got our client. We don't have Wegmans around here, but I like the name of it, Wegmans. Okay. And designer is you. Okay. Design statement. So what we need is this like deli counter, right? We need this like, and don't copy this. I'm just drawing up here because I don't have another place to put it. But we're going to have like a 2-digit display. Okay. And so 2 7-segment displays. We're going to count up from 0, 0 to something. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you guys as teachers. You're putting your teacher hat back on for a half second. Do not, I don't think use 80. The curriculum says use 80. And I say don't use 80. Because if you Google now serving display, you're going to find 800 of this circuit already done. Right. And so again, we don't, we hope kids won't copy or whatever, but if it's one Google away, I don't love that. Right. But my point that I'm going to make here, and we're going to do this here as a group, is really easy to modify this project. You just pick a different number. Right. So what we're going to do is we're not going to say 80. We're going to say 90. Okay. Problem solved. Now, when they Google now serving display, they're not going to find this answer. They're going to find other things. Right. And it's actually a pretty good clue. If kids are cheating, you're like, why did you make this go to 80? And they're like, well, what do you mean? You designed it to go to 80. Why'd you design it to go to 80? And if they don't have an answer for you, then they probably copied, right?
Mike, why wouldn't you do 93 to make it even more difficult?
You actually nailed it right on the head, Greg, because it makes it more difficult. So if you do 93, that actually makes it, I don't want to say quite a bit more challenging, but a decent amount more challenging. Okay. So if you do 90, it stays about the same level of difficulty, just not Googleable. To your point though, another spot for differentiation, you can, if kids need a little bit more of a challenge, you can say, hey, about 90, about 94, right? How about, what's your favorite basketball player's number, right? Like we can do something like that. It doesn't have to be 90 or whatever the case may be.
And why do you think 80 is more Googleable?
Because that's what's in the curriculum. That's what's in the curriculum.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So people that are going on the letter of the law in the curriculum, they're doing 0 to 80. And so
thank you.
You can Google it. All right. So anyway, so it's going to count from 0 to 90. Okay. When it hits 90, it's going to pause. Or you might say stop, pause at 90. And what that means is like the deli counter person is like pressing the button, click, 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 click. It stays 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. It doesn't count up anymore. Just stays right at 90, no matter how many times you press the button. Before this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every time I press the button, it's counting up. But when I hit 90, it just freezes at 90. Okay. And then I need a reset button. That goes back to 0. I guess, like, I don't know. Somebody poured water all over the ticket machine and now they have to take it out and get a new roll. I don't know. I don't know why you'd have to reset it to 0, but apparently we need a button to reset it to 0. So. Okay. So now you know roughly what we're looking for. 7 segment displays, go from 0 to 90. It's got to pause at 90. We need a reset button to go back to 0. How do we distill that into a design statement? Design, build, and test. Hi, Laura. Design, build, and test a circuit that what? What do we think? I'm transitioning this year to a role as I'm teaching 2 classes, but I'm also an instructional coach. I know Gabrielle, I think, was too. And one of the things they told us about is this awkward wait time, this uncomfortable wait time. It's a good way to get answers. Just wait and wait and wait and wait.
Is it reset? I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. Reset should be probably in here someplace. We should like a reset. But what is our counter supposed to do? Reset's got to be in there, but I don't want to start with it. What's it supposed to do?
That counts 0 to 90.
Okay. That counts 0 to 90. Okay.
Using 2 7-segment display.
On
Do we say 0, 0 to 90? Or does
Sure.
it not matter?
Sure. You're right. That's more accurate. On 2 7.
Segment display.
Yeah, 7 segment displays. Design, build, and test a circuit that counts 0 to 90 on 2 7 segment displays. And you might say like, and is resettable or something. Two T's and resettable. Might not even be a real word. I don't know. I don't care. All right. So we got our design statement. Now there are some pretty specific constraints for this one. They're Project Lead the Way kind of they're pretty specific about what they want us to do here. Okay. They want, oh, I better write constraints first. All right. So peering behind the curtain here, I'm going to tell you that the absolute hardest part of this project is actually displaying the digits at the end. So the good news is that they're actually going to take care of that for us. That is by far the hardest part of this project, is actually displaying the 2 digits at the end. Not the counting, none of that. Not the pausing, not the resetting, but displaying the 2 digits is the hardest part. And luckily, they've taken care of that for us. But in order to do that, for our constraints, we're going to have a ones digit Okay, so we're going to build a ones digit. And the ones digit is going to be, I don't think I used this term last block, but it needs to be what we would call medium scale integration which from now on, forever and ever and ever, we will refer to as MSI because we're engineers and we're lazy, efficient. So we will call that MSI for right now. MSI is when we stuff a lot of stuff in a single chip. So in our case, that is this new chip you just learned about, the 74LS93. So we're going to build the ones digit with the 74LS93. We're going to build the tens digit. So we're going to have a tens digit. And the tens digit is going to be triggered by the ones digit, which is like, how math works. So the ones digit is going to count up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when we go to 10, it's going to trigger that tens digit. Hey, you should go now. We've counted up 10. So the tens digit gets triggered when the one digit counts up 10 times. And I'm going to go through that more in detail in a sec. The tens digit is going to be SSI. What do you think SSI is? Based on what MSI was. What do you think SSI is?
Small.
Scale.
Yeah, small scale. Yeah, exactly right. It's small scale integration. And so that means flip-flops. And I don't care if you use D or JK. It makes no difference to me. It may say in the activity, but I could care less. If you want to do D, you want to do JK, I don't care. Okay. All right. 2 inputs. Oops, 2 inputs. Inputs. In theory, they would be buttons. Okay, so our output, here's the weird thing. Okay. I told you that the output is the hardest part. So they're going to take care of that for us. But you're going to have 8 outputs. And that is 4 bits for the ones digit and 4 bits for the tens digit. So effectively, we're going to make this thing count in binary. And then we're going to give that binary to another circuit and say, you deal with it. You turn it into a 7-segment display thing. It must reset with button to 0, 0. And it must pause at, what did we say, 90? Whoops. Must pause at 90. Or freeze or stop. I'm going to change my color here because this is one of those things that is required for your students, but optional for you. Okay. Must be in PLD mode. So for the kids, the end game is they will put it on. Turn off my virtual background. I need to make a hotkey for that. For the kids, they're going to put it on this. So they're going to download it to this chip, and then we're going to see the digits down here, and we're going to press the buttons over here, and it's going to be a whole thing. It's going to be great. It's going to be cool. That's what the kids are going to do. Now, you don't have this thing, so you can build it in PLD, which is what your kids would do. That's fine. But remember, it's a little hard to test stuff in PLD mode, admittedly, right? The buttons are a little weirder, and the count's a little weirder. So I don't have any problem if in this training you want to just build it in design mode and not worry about PLD. That's totally fine for me. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna add one more thing. Again, we don't have to worry about this, but I'm gonna add it because it's worth saying. Displays must be multiplexed. Again, they're gonna take care of that for us, but it's worth adding in there. Anybody have anything else for constraints? Any questions or anything?
All right, this is going way back.
Yeah.
Why did you tell me what you mean by must be in PLD mode
Sure.
versus display? Is
Versus
that
design.
in multi-sim?
Versus design. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So
okay.
in multi-sim, we have two different modes. And up until now, oh, sorry, flipping thing. Up until now, we've only used design tab except for yesterday. So we've only used design tab up till now. Yesterday, we used the PLD mode, which is what we use when we want to download it to this Groovy chip. So you just have to build it in a different type of window in multi-sim if you're going to download it to this cool chip. But you are not in this training going to download to this cool chip, so you don't need to put it in that mode.
And is that I have multi-sim open, and I'm in. Can you tell me where I would go to get to the PLD mode?
Yes, but I tell you what, after we're done with this design brief, I'm gonna show you like in multi-sim how I would set it up, and can I do it then?
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Okay. It's a good question. Anybody else about constraints before I do deliverables?
What is multiplexed again? I'm like drawing a blank.
Sure, that's okay. For the record, everyone, we're a week and a half in. You don't have to apologize about your brain being destroyed. I know, I get it. Anyway, so there's two displays. We have two displays, right? And we would be horribly wasteful if those two displays were on all the time. That would be a waste of energy. And so instead, we're going to turn one on, then the other, then the first one, then the second one, first one, 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 and we're going to do so fast, first second, that to every human, it will appear that both digits are on all the time. But in reality, only one is on, and then we save half of our energy. Now, admittedly, this is a hassle to design for, way harder than just like turn on the lights. But it is such a huge advantage in terms of power that that's how all displays are done. Every digital display you're ever going to see is multiplexed. So that's how it is on the board. Thank you for asking that, Gabrielle. Okay, so deliverables, design brief. Now, up until now, I've been putting in like truth table every time. But For counters, truth tables aren't really a thing all that often. You know, throughout this design process, all these things we've been making, we haven't made any truth tables for counters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cop out here a little bit, and I'm going to use this term design work. Okay. And that may include, in fact, I'll write that, may include things like a block diagram. It might include truth tables. What else might design work contain? I don't know. I'll leave that for now. I can't think of anything else. But like, this is like, depending on other projects you might have, like research might fall into there, right? If kids are looking stuff up, that might fall under design work. Okay. So then we're going to have our multisim. You know what? I'm going to write evidence of prototype. We're not going anywhere other than multisim. So evidence of prototype is multisim. It's the same thing. I don't want you guys thinking it's two different things. So the evidence of the prototype. All right. Now this one, guys, is going to have to be a video. So if you haven't done any videos up to this point, it's time to learn how. This one's got to be a video, whether you hold your cell phone up to your monitor and record it happening or use a screen capture program, whatever. This one's got to be, because there's no way looking at a picture for me to tell if your circuit's actually counting. Even if you gave me 90 pictures, how would I know that it actually counted from 0 to 90 as opposed to just something else, right? So this one's got to be a video of some kind. So I'm just going to write video.
I've been using Screencastify and found out that it's blocked on campus. So I just did my last one in Zoom. I just went into Zoom by myself and recorded the screen. So
Perfect.
that works if anyone needs to do that.
Thank you, Randall. That's a good tip. There you go. I can't believe it's blocked.
PowerPoint also has a really good screen recording tool built into it.
PowerPoint built in. Nice.
Yeah, if you go to insert, you can do a screen recording.
Neat. Huh, I didn't know that. There you go. So you know what? Let me write them down. So we heard Zoom as a good suggestion. We heard PowerPoint, screen cast, O-matic, and screen castify. I don't know. Screencast. I think it's TI.
Yeah, Castify.
Thank you.
Screencast and the Screencastify will let you just create a link right there to YouTube and do it for you right away.
Nice.
That's my recommendation.
Thanks, Tyler. All right, so there's some options in there. Obviously, there's people in here who know how to do it too. So feel free to ask around or ask me, and we will get it figured out. Okay, so that's it for our deliverables. We're going to have our video of it working. We're going to have our design work and our design brief, and then there you go. So I'm going to do block diagram right now because I think it's actually pretty important. So if you want to follow along with me, you'll have some design work here done already. I'm not a stickler on this at all, but if I was a stickler on engineer's notebook stuff, if I had all this room at the bottom of a page here, I'm technically supposed to go and then, you know, sign it and date it August 2nd, 22. That would be quote unquote the right way to do that. Again, please don't feel like you have to do that in any of your notebooks. I'm just telling you, that's what it's supposedly you're supposed to do, so nobody can sneak in later and be like, yeah, this too, and lie about what happened. Okay, so my block diagram. So what a block diagram is, we actually saw this way back when with the random number generator. We had 3 blocks that described what we were trying to do. And for this one, we need like quite a few blocks because there's kind of a lot of things going on. I mentioned this is kind of a difficult project. So I'm going to start with the ones digit. So I'm going to make a block. And I think notability will be cool. If I hold this here, it might turn into a regular. Nope. I said you were going to be cool, notability. Yes. Okay. Made it a square for me. Okay. So here's my first block. Okay. And in my first block, I'm going to say that this is the ones digit. Ones digit. And so I think about, okay, what does this need to do? So my ones digit needs to count from 0 to 9. And it's got to be MSI. Okay.
Another question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I
No, no.
I was just trying out the PowerPoint, recording, and I got it to work, but then I couldn't exit out of it. I finally got that, and then is this? You're still working on our
Now serving? Yeah.
but I know that our design statement, or are we actually?
The design brief is over. Design brief is
design brief-
done.
And now we're in multi-sim.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you.
Not yet. Shortly. Very soon.
Okay.
So my block diagram, I've just
MS1.
what's that?
Where does it say underneath the ones digit? MS.
MSI. Sorry. MSI. What is supposed to make our counter count up? What makes it go from 0 to 1? I like the miming in the video here. Yeah, somebody's supposed to press a button, right? Here's your Jello salad. Boom, somebody hits a button. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put like a wire over here and say button. What should we, we're going to end up with 2 buttons. What should we call this button? We should probably give it a more meaningful name.
Button 1.
That's not very meaningful, Eugene.
The button.
Up button.
Up button. Okay. I like up button or next button or something like that. Sounds good. All right, fine. Okay, cool. So we also need a tens digit. So I'm going to draw another block up above here. And this is going to be my tens digit. This is going to be built out of SSI. In other words, flip-flops. What's our tens digit supposed to count to?
A through F.
That's too high. What's our total count? Our total count's supposed to go 0 to 90, right? So yeah, so this guy's got to go, or 10's got to go 0 to 9 also. That's a coincidence, I suppose. But that one's also got to go 0 to 9. Now, the beauty part about this block diagram is this is a big circuit. So when your kids say, I need help with my circuit, you can say, which part do you need help with? Do you know how to do a 0 to 9 counter with the MSI? And I go, no problem. Let's sit down. I'll show you how to do that. Right. And then they work on that. And then you come help other kids and then you come circle back to them. All right, where are you at now? Right. It helps us chunk our problem.
Did you put the tens digit on top for a reason? I didn't leave enough room. So in my
No.
picture,
There's
no big deal if
there's
it's
no big
below.
deal. No, not at
Thank
all.
you.
Nope. That's a good question though. Thank you for asking it. So the ones digit triggers the tens digit. When should it make the tens digit go up?
After 9?
After 9, well said. After 9, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another little box just out here. Doesn't want to make a pretty box. And I'll say after 9, or you could say is 10. That works too. And look what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect that. My pen works great 96% of the time, and then it just dies. Okay. So I'm just gonna add some arrows to my block diagram to make it a little bit easier to follow. So I'm gonna add like an arrowhead there, an arrowhead there, arrowhead there. Okay. What happens? What happens when I get to 90?
It freezes.
Yeah, it freezes. I have to like stop counting when it gets to 90. So over here on the left, I'm going to make another little block. Whoops. Come on, pen. We got things to do. Can't wait for you. So a little piece of logic that says it's 90. Okay, so let's see. I want it to count. When should it count? It should count when I press the button, but not every time I press the button. Because when should it not count? What are we just talking about here?
When it reaches 90?
Yeah. So another way of saying that is it should count when I push the button and it's not 90. When I push the button and not 90. Right? So I'm sort of distilling kind of the logic I might need here. Button and not 90. So to that end, that I'm not necessarily like, this isn't the only way to do it or anything, but I might be like, okay, I'm going to have an AND gate here with my button and not my 90, but not 90. So I might toss a little inverter on there. Something like that. All right, we're almost done with our block diagram. There's one chunk that we haven't considered yet, which is there's one more feature that our thing is supposed to have. What other features it's supposed to have? There's another input we haven't considered yet. What's that, Eugene? I didn't hear you.
Reset.
Yeah, we got a reset, but we got to consider a reset button. Okay. We need a reset button. So I'll draw it down below, I suppose. I'm going to call it reset button. That's what Eugene wanted to call it. I told him he couldn't call the other one button 1. So
If the other one's called button or reset button, then button 1 would have been just fine. Just saying.
Button and reset button. All right. Okay. So my reset button. Okay. So which digit should my reset button reset? Let's imagine the number is 43 and I hit the reset button. Which digit should it reset?
Both.
Both. And the reason I'm calling that out is because I cannot tell you how many circuits I've had where people are like, I'm done. And their reset button resets the ones digit, but not the tens, or resets the tens and not the ones. And kids will even try and slide it past me because they'll like let it count. They'll be like, oh, look, 01, 02, 03. And then they hit the reset and look, it resets. I'm like, hold on, cowboy. Let's go ahead and go to like 12 and see if it actually resets. So my reset button is basically got to feed this ones digit and my tens digit. It's got to reset both of those somehow. I'm spying a problem that I want to head off now in our block diagram stage. My ones digit is going to reset if I press the reset button. But also there's another time it resets. When else is my ones digit supposed to reset? Like in normal operating procedure, it resets at one point.
Tens digit, like if it goes from 9 to 10.
Yeah. Because this is only supposed to be a 0 to 9 counter, right? And if I just let it go, it'll go like Corey was saying, it'll go A, B, C, D, E, F. That's no good. So after 9, not only do I trigger the tens digit, but I also need to come back and reset. Now this is something that we haven't really dealt with too much before. We have two conditions that'll cause this reset. Now, what many people will try and do then is just like connect this wire to this wire. No. We can't have two outputs on the same wire. No, that doesn't work. Can't do that. But guess what? We have spent a lot of time learning how to take two logical signals and come up with an answer. So what we're going to need, folks, is we're going to need a gate that goes right here, some sort of gate that says if the reset button is pressed or after 9, because if it goes above 9, like Greg said, it should reset. Or if somebody presses that button, it should reset. If it's just chilling at like 6 and somebody hits that button, it's supposed to go back to 0. Now, ideally at this point, you are like, yeah, this is a pretty complicated circuit. I can see there's a lot going on here, which is why we use this block diagram to sort of scaffold, right? And so when kids are looking at this, or you are looking at this and you're like, yeah, I don't even, where do I start? We say, okay, all right. Do you know how to make a 0 to 9 counter? This bottom one here. Do you know how to make a 0 to 9 counter in MSI? And if the kid's like, no, okay, go back and look at your assignment that we just did, because we just did an assignment. And again, I'm not saying this to you guys because we did this lightning fast, but in your classroom, the last 3 or 4 days, you were lecturing on this MSI counter and they built it in the activity. And I'm pretty sure in the activity, they even build one that's 0 to 9. So you're like, go back to your file. You already built this. You already built a counter with MSI that goes 0 to 9. Okay. And then you give them 10 minutes to struggle through it. And then you circle back and you say, hey, did you figure out the 0 to 9 MSI? And they did or they didn't, whatever. Okay. Well, then do you know how to make a 0 to 9 counter out of flip-flops? Okay, then try that, build that, right? And so you're just giving them these little chunks to build. So when you do need to help them, you only have to help them a little bit, right? How do we connect, say, one of these to the other? How do I build the after 9 logic? Maybe I don't know how to do that. That's no problem. Let me sit down. I can show you that in 3 or 4 minutes, right? So chunking like this is going to allow you to hit more kids in the classroom. And just from like a, I don't know, self-esteem perspective, it helps the kids be like, okay, I can manage parts of this, right? I can do parts of this already. From a differentiation perspective, when you're out of time and it's time to move on, if a kid has 4 of these blocks done, give them a B. Sure. Just because the whole thing isn't perfect exactly to spec doesn't mean you failed this project, whatever. It's a good spot for differentiation, right? Get done what you can get done. Okay, I'm going to jump into multisim now.
Hey, Mike, what
Yeah.
program would you recommend? I have horrible handwriting. What would you recommend? Is there a basic program that, you could use if you're using your overhead, your camera, and you're typing that in, and how you drew the square nicely with that
Yeah.
app. So
Yeah.
is there something we recommend?
So
program?
Notability is really nice. And if I was trying to go more slowly, I would use the text tool there's like a text tool in Notability, so I can just type, which is nice. And the other thing that Notability is nice is, like, you see how I made these nice squares in Notability. If you draw a square and you like hold it there, it like makes it a nice square. So I can do that fairly quickly. Same thing with like circles. If I draw a circle and like hold it, you got to be sort of in the neighborhood. There, turns into a circle. So that one's not bad. The other thing, actually, what I'm going to show you right this second is I'll draw in multisim sometimes. So let me stop my share and go up to multisim.
And that was an Apple. You're on your iPad.
That is unfortunately an iPad only.
Yeah.
There might be a better Android one that I don't know about. So if anybody knows, let us know. So I'm in my multisim here. Okay. And in multisim, you can place graphics and you can place a rectangle. And so I might place a rectangle, like a pretty big rectangle. And then I might place some text, either like maybe right inside or right above it or something, and just put the same stuff in there. This is going to be a 1s digit, and it's going to be MSI, and it's going to be 0 to 9. And I can put that in there. And then I can place another. I'm actually toying with the idea of doing this with my kids follow along. We're going to draw all this in multisim. And so they have this template. I'll draw another square over here and I'll say after 9. And I wonder if there's a keyboard shortcut for squares. Nope, they're not. Shucks. I'll draw one up here and I'll say 10s digit SSI 0 to 9. Kind of giving myself these landing spots to build things. And you can always resize, turns out that's not big enough. You can click it and resize it. That's going to need to be a big box because I got a lot of flip-flops. All right. So the last thing I got to show you about this is the end of the circuit where Project Lead the Way is going to take over. Okay. Because remember, the last part, the display part, is so difficult. Okay. So if you do this in PLD mode, there is a file that you're going to want to give to your students that you're going to want to use. You want It should be out there. And it's in the, you know, the zip file where you got all the keys and everything are in there. And if you need help finding that later, let me know. I will show you. And this is 3, 2. Here's the 3 2s, right? So 3, 2, 4 is right here. Okay. I like to give them take this one. Okay. So everything from here to the right should be given to your students if they're going to do it in design mode, right? So this part right here, everything from here over, you should have this in your circuit. So if I was you and I was doing this in design mode, I would open this up, Control C for copy, come back into my design, Control V paste, and just slap it in there. I brought in some extra wires I didn't need. Ooh. Now it's in there. So if I'm going to build in design mode, I'm going to copy this over. If you're going to build in PLD mode, so just a reminder, if I'm going to build in PLD mode, I would do place, new PLD subcircuit. And I would keep all this stuff the same. Now serving display. Okay, so what does my circuit need as inputs? What does this now serving thing need as inputs? It's in your design brief. What do we do?
Is it a push button?
Yeah, exactly. Push buttons. You got it, Corey. So I need 2 push buttons. I need my reset button, and as Eugene told us, button 1. So they got my 2 buttons, BTN button. Those are buttons. Okay. And I'm also going to need my segments. And again, you don't have to worry about this right now, but I'm just showing you. So I would pick everything I need. I need those guys too. And this is all in the activity, so you don't have to memorize any part of this. So now I've got my little PLD. I'm going to dive into it. Now I'm inside my PLD. Okay. Over here, I'm going to go back to the keys, right? And in the PLD mode, look how different it looks. Really, really, really different. Okay. I'm going to actually delete all the stuff we don't need, just so you can see it cleanly. So this is what you give your kids. This right here. You give them this whole file. You put this on your LMS of choice. You put this on Canvas or Schoology or Google Classroom or whatever the heck. You give this whole scary looking thing. It is not necessary for the kids to know what the circuit, how the circuit operates. Okay. Heck, it's not really important that you know how the circuit operates. Okay. But this is the multiplexing thing. This is taking care of the fact that I got to turn on one digit and then the other digit, and the first digit, second digit, first digit, second digit, first digit. This does that for us. This does that. So the kids are going to copy this. Sometimes the kids even just like build right in here, but they're going to copy that over to their design. Okay. And then they've got all this in here that already has the segments on it. It's all kind of good to go there. So whether you're doing in PLD mode or design, you guys as participants, whether you're doing either one, okay, your kind of goal is the same. If I'm in design mode, this is where my ones digit pins go to. You're going to have QA, QB, QC, QD. Those go over here to ABCD. And up here, that's where your tens digit goes. You're going to have Qs from your flip-flops. They go over here. You guys are used to this thing, DCD hex, right? You guys are used to that. Well, this is basically the same thing, but like what it would be in real life. So instead of going to here and here and here and here, whoops. Instead of going there, you go to here. You can think about this thing as a big, complicated DCD hex. That's really what that is.
Are you toggling between design mode and the PLD? And because I know that I saved him, or it's in that folder, the 324.
Yeah.
Basically, on the very bottom of your screen, you have DE. That's design 1, and then and design 2 is the one that you were kind of freehand drawing.
So yeah. So okay. So this is the design mode version. You can tell it's design mode because it has like a kind of a white and red little thing in it, right? So that's design mode. So what I did is I copied this part from the design mode key and I pasted it in my design mode document. So that was full design to design, totally in design mode. And then I also said, okay, so if I was doing PLD mode, here's the PLD portion, and I would copy that and put it in my PLD design. Either way, you're copying a big chunk of circuit to use.
And your PLD design is that one that you have up right now, but you made a separate design tab, right? Design
Yes.
1, because you know what I did wrong? I put that in my, I just have one design, so I obviously didn't make that second design tab to cut and paste this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Questions right now before I continue on to anything else? Okay. So believe it or not, let me just double check, see if I believe it. Nope. Believe it or not, that's all I have to tell you for this block. Okay. So we're quote unquote done 53 minutes early, but it's by design so that you guys can start working on this right now. Okay. I will be here, like I said, for the next 3 hours and take a break right now and go to the washroom, but I'll be here for the next 3 hours. And all I would recommend to you is start by trying to do the things in these blocks, right? Don't worry about the whole circuit. Like, see if you can build an MSI counter that goes from 0 to 9, right? And that is the 74 LS 93. You probably built one in the last block. So go back and see. If you don't remember, 3, 2, 2, I think. You think I'd have that memorized by now. But I think it's in that 3, 2, you're going to see the MSI asynchronous counters. That's the activity. There's a PowerPoint on it. I'm not saying you can't ask me. You absolutely can ask me. But if you want to do those things first, you're more than welcome to, or you can ask me anything that you want to get this done. Okay. This block diagramming, by the way, just as a teacher thing, this is going to be really helpful for you because let's be honest, you're teaching this February, March, maybe. That's a long time from now, right? And so if you think you're going to know exactly why you put things where you put them, you probably will not, right? You're going to look at this and go, what the heck? What does any of this mean? Right? So this kind of like labeling is nice because it gives you guys a roadmap when you're looking at your own work in a couple of months, figure out what the heck you meant. So, okay, I'm going to stop my recording.